Welcome back to Face to Face. Senator Chris Dodd from Connecticut is joining us. He's running for president and making yet another visit to Nevada. He loves it here.
I love it.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about immigration.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about security, you talk about penalizing employers. Everybody agrees to some extent on that. The devil's in the details with the rest of it. Limited guest worker program, some kind of earned pathway to citizenship. Specifically, what are you for?
Well, I believe in the earned pathway. You're paying the back taxes, learning the English, the things that steps we've required here. You can't very well tell people who are doing this legally, going through the normal processes, that a whole bunch of people ought to be able to get ahead of the line without paying some price for all of this.
So pay some price, learning English, pay back taxes, maybe some other penalties, then you can become a citizen.
I would provide over a period of years, and obviously staying out of trouble. A lot of other things have those conditionality to it. And to me, the idea, the alternative is what? Arresting 12 million people and trying to then going through the process, the cost of doing that, it could be phenomenal. Or throwing them, if you could, even throwing them all out of the country. I mean, people tell me here, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the tax base of this state, along with the undocumented worker, is actually contributing to the tax base of this state. I know the Social Security Trust Fund actually receives a lot of money. They're usually under illegal names, or rather, not their right names, but they're paying into those funds as being taken out of their weekly or monthly incomes and salaries coming in. So there's some benefits on all of this that we're receiving. So as a practical matter, it probably makes more sense to go that route, in my view.
And yet you still meet a lot of people probably on the campaign trail who think that means amnesty, right?
Yeah, and it's not amnesty.
But don't some people think
Yes, they do. You're right. I find people so conflicted on this issue. I cite a case in my own state back some years ago where a community that I know fairly well, John, if I were to ask them how they felt about immigration, they would have a pretty negative answer about it. I can pretty much promise you. I also know what happened in that community once, where actually the INS went in and apprehended a guy who'd been living there for 15 years, running the local gas station, and they were going to throw him out of the country. He was there illegally. And almost every adult in that town signed a document asking that we allow to keep the guy in town. So here's the same town, if you ask the question generically, had one reaction. Yet when it came to someone they knew, had a different answer. And that sort of expresses, I think, the conflict that people have with this issue. We're all, to the largest extent, except for African Americans, people who understand where we came from and our families and appreciate what this country offered. Most of our families, if you go back any length of time, were undocumented workers. You didn't come here with visas. So we appreciate what this country has offered. We recognize the richness of it, the contribution of it that's made this nation in many ways what it is. And yet simultaneously we understand that 400,000 people coming in illegally or undocumented each year without any controls on this can overwhelm the system.
We only have about 30 seconds left. So how do you cool the rhetoric down on this, though, to get anything done in Congress? That's the difficulty.
National leadership has got to talk about it, and I respect what the president's trying to do. That's why this is an area where I think they're making the right steps, and Congress has to step up. If you leave the vacuum out here for the demagogues to talk about this, then you could pretty much predict how people are going to react. Responsible, rational voices talking about this are really critical, and hopefully we'll get more of them during this debate.
All right, have a great time in Pahrump. We appreciate your coming back on the program. You're welcome anytime.
I'll come back a lot. Thanks,
all right,
John,
thanks, Senator. On the next Face to Face, a rare glimpse inside the county's Department of Family Services. Child Protective Service workers claim they're understaffed and overworked. And now the county's pledging the resources to lighten the load. But is it enough? We'll hear the inside story from two supervisors on the next Face to Face.